Welcome back to the Brotherhood Blitz, where digital playbooks meet real passion. Every week, we break down the storylines, the strategy, and the chaos that only a simulation league can deliver. And the best part? You can jump in yourself, create your player, get recruited through the league's Discord, and watch your journey unfold live on Twitch as you battle teams across the league. I'm here with my brother and co host 409K, and we're here to break down all the action.
Hey, yeah, that was a nice little touch. That was your surprise before we started recording. Yeah, no, welcome to the Brotherhood Blitz. We got DOWOP and 49K here for uh, our Week 8 recap, as well as talking a little bit, or Week 7 recap, excuse me, and talking a little bit about this upcoming Week 8 contest. And let's get right into it.
Yeah, before we get into it, I do want to say real quick before we jump right in. For those that don't know, and I know a lot of people just call me Lou Wop or D Lou Wop. My name is Dylan. If you didn't know, so I just want to throw that out there. I know y'all. It sounds kind of weird, Lou Wop, but it's just my last name spelled backwards. Our last name, me and my brother's. But yeah, you can call me Dylan if that's easier. I just wanted to get that
Yeah,
out of the way.
Yeah, I'll probably do that 'cause it's kind of a tongue twister trying to say your gaming name.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll jump right in. Last week, another wild week, Colton.
It was Yeah, it was wild, and this week we just had was also quite wild as well.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting season unfolding. Right in front of us. It's gonna be another exciting episode to break it all down. And yeah, if you want to jump right in and uh, tell us a little bit about that first game.
Yeah, so we'll start out with the first game on this past Tuesday, where and this is all rankings at the moment going as of week 7, so it's not new rankings just yet, just to clarify. But number 10 ranked Rutgers beats number 5 Miami 41 to 31, in which didn't really see that coming.
Yeah, definitely. An upset to say the least. Miami now 2 losses in a row. It's going to be interesting to see. I believe now they're in a new playbook.
Yes.
Yeah, so interesting to see some changes coming to Miami after those 2 losses in a row. But hey, Rutgers came out; they look great. Beating one of the top teams by 10.
Yeah, they looked pretty dominant at times throughout that game. I mean, scoring 41 on probably the top rated defense in the league or top team on paper in the league. It's quite an accomplishment, especially the season they had last season. Didn't make playoffs, kind of reloaded and kind of rejuvenized this roster and getting people bought into the style that C Webb and then bringing in Rationale as assistant head coach. This is a whole different type of Rutgers team that they're showing they can compete with the top teams as we've seen against Miami and some of the other teams and upsets they've gotten this season.
Yeah, like we've said, multiple times so far throughout these episodes, the later this season goes on, and we only got 2 weeks left in the regular season, playoff with all these upsets, playoffs is wide open, and all these teams that are at the bottom looking in, um, they're proving that they want it more than some of these teams that think they got it in the bag, and you know are you might want to say overlooking these other teams.
Yeah, you can say overlooking in a way. I mean, really, if you're in maybe even seventh or eighth ranked all the way up to 10, I would not feel safe and confident about making the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, definitely not. Like I said, playoffs is wide open, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to come down to the committee on who gets in after week 9.
And with a lot of the head-to-head complications, as well as records, I mean, potentially a team that doesn't even have a winning record that can make it in just because they have a better resume. But I mean, it's hard to say as we still got 2 weeks left. It'll be a lot more interesting to talk about come after week 9.
for sure. But yeah, we'll head into the second game on Tuesday. We had Louisville taking on Texas, and yeah, we'll keep it short and sweet on that one. Texas taking that one over Louisville, 59-3. Um, yeah,
I'm not gonna talk. It sucked for Musi and that Louisville team not having the best of season after coming off a wild debut season here in the league. Just in season 6, it's tough. I mean, like to see them play a little better. Could just be the team kind of took a step back in terms of the rushing attack, and then they're trying to, call back in the games and pass the ball is not really their identity in a way. But I mean, it's hard to beat and be, I guess, that outmatched in a way. But I'll keep it at that, and we'll move on to the next game, which I'm also going to keep short and sweet. Number 16, Mizzou tried to get their first win this season and was denied by number 8, LSU, as LSU takes the win 55-3, and a game that was also not very close.
yeah. LSU, won the Natty last season and come out looking strong this week. You know, given they played Mizzou, yeah, they're number 16, but still, this league is not easy, and you know, outscoring your opponent by 52 points it, you're definitely doing it right.
Yeah, it's hard scoring that much, but also holding the opposing team to a field goal only. And Mizzou didn't get a touchdown at all. I mean, neither did Louisville, but it's hard beating a team by that much and
Only giving up
holding
3.
them to, yeah, only giving up 3.
Yeah,
But going into the next game, which was or it was one of our picks for game of the week, was number 1 Hawaii taking on number 11 Arkansas, and which was a game that went into overtime. Hawaii had the ball first in OT, only kicked a field goal, and Arkansas proceeds to get the upset and knock off the number 1 team 47-44 after scoring a touchdown to win it in OT.
yeah, and just to you know, I'll touch on this point real quick. For Arkansas to even take it to overtime, that fourth quarter, the last 2 minutes of that fourth quarter was absolutely insane. If you haven't seen it, you need to go watch that game. It was unbelievable. A recovered onside kick, Arkansas marching down the field to bring it to overtime. It was unbelievable. A great game to watch.
And a lot of people doubted Arkansas's ability to close out close games, especially closing out a close game against a top 3 team in the league and number 1 in Hawaii at that, to knock them off, take them to OT, and now you put yourself and rejuvenated that team and that confidence and motivation. Hey, we can go make a run in the playoffs or even potentially make the playoffs. Still a lot of work to do as you still got to, win out at this point to kind of stay yourself in the float because being in that bubble, nah, nothing's safe. Like I said, if you're 7th or 8th ranked all the way up to 10. But congrats to Arkansas getting a nice crazy upset win and keeping their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, and I believe, last episode we both had Arkansas beating Hawaii. So, you know,
Correct.
yeah, so I think I said that in league chat. Maybe we are, you know, maybe we do know what we're talking about over here.
Sometimes this is a type of voodoo magic. We even talked about it a little bit in the last episode where this wasn't a battle of teams. There was a battle of head coaches in a chess match between Gunn and Cade.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I knew it was going to be a dogfight all the way until the end. I even said it in Twitch chat during the first quarter of that game. I even said this is about to be a dogfight, and it did not disappoint.
It did, and indeed did not. But we'll go into the next game, which was also an upset, or yeah, an upset. As number 4 Virginia Tech takes on number 6 Maryland, and Maryland getting the win, proving they are a top team in the league, winning 31-23.
Yeah, I didn't get to completely watch this game. I got a little bit busy, but I tuned in towards the end and saw that it was close, and it shocked me. I'm not gonna lie.
I believed I talked about this a little bit. I think on paper you can consider Virginia Tech the better team. Now, Maryland, I said if they can control time of possession, get their run game going, and get some turnovers, which I believe they got a few in that game. Let's take a look. Yeah, they forced 2 interceptions on Stacy Smith, Virginia Tech's QB, and while having none through the air, I mean, they did well. They even forced Stacy Smith to fumble, so that's another turnover. There's 3 turnovers in that game forced to only your one if the fumble was recovered because Maryland's halfback also fumbled.
Yeah, I do
Um,
remember you touching on that um, last episode on if they could, you know, control the time of possession and the turnovers. You wouldn't be surprised
they
if
had
Maryland pulled it off.
yeah, they would have a shot, and I mean, they did exactly what I predicted if they would be able to do. They would probably win that game,
Yeah,
and that's what happened.
and now Maryland, you know, sitting at 6-1, they're finally getting the spotlight they deserve.
Yeah, it's finally basically what you said, getting the spotlight they deserve. They are the only team with only one loss in the league, alongside Texas, and they deserve to be up there.
Yeah, going on to first game of the Thursday slate, you have North Carolina getting upset by Alabama 30-27.
And a game that I did not really expect. Now, Bama, you can make the case the same way that we did with ECU, where they beat, I believe, what was it, Arkansas? Or who did they beat? LSU. When LSU, ECU got a new head coach in Rush, right? Rush wins that game. You might be able to make the same case as like was just North Carolina kind of got a little bit of bad luck that they had to face and game plan against Bama with a new head coach that might play a different style and use the book a different way than the previous head coach because they weren't in a new book. He used Rationale, the new coach of Bama, he used the same book. Kind of hard to say, but you gotta give credit where credit is due, and Bama was able to get a very crucial win to maybe have a shot at playoffs with a little bit of help.
Yeah, you're exactly right. With a little bit of help, they still could make playoffs. They're gonna have to work for it. They're gonna have to win these next 2 games, without a doubt. They,
Wild if they do, by the way.
yeah, they cannot take a loss. If they take a loss, they're done. So
Yeah,
exciting to see
it's
they're
win
still
out,
fighting.
right, and they, like you said, they have to win out. they have to get a little bit of help. At this point, you would need ECU and Arkansas, maybe even maybe it's tough because you would need Michigan, ECU, and Arkansas potentially all to lose two out of the next three. Yeah, basically, actually probably lose out.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting last couple weeks, to say the least.
Oh, definitely. And with that, we'll get into a another upset. I mean, that's the theme this season. Upset 'tis the season, as number 9 Michigan takes on number 12 ECU in a muddy mess. As ECU will upset Michigan 31 to 28, and which was a game I think we also both predicted ECU to win.
Yeah, look, we touched a little bit about it, last episode about it being light rain, light breeze. We said, hey, this could help ECU take down Michigan's passing game, and I think they did do that a little bit, and it helped them just enough. ECU had that running game going, and yeah, taking down Michigan 31-28.
And they were up 21 nothing in that first half at one point. Now, for the most part, you could say, okay, ECU did good at holding Michigan's passing attack. Michigan still had 360 yards passing and 4 touchdowns through the air.
Yeah, like you said,
But
Michigan obviously, I'm not sure how much. I don't remember exactly how much they were down. I think you said it 21 to nothing. East Carolina was up. I
I
I
believe so.
know they were up by quite a bit, and that's when I stopped watching it. And then next thing I know, I saw the end score, and I was like, oh wow. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there towards the end with Michigan, clawing their way back, but yeah, a muddy, like you said, a muddy brawl for
Money.
sure.
Yeah, it definitely was. And what I was getting at is, yeah, ECU for the most part held Michigan's passing attack at first. Now, Michigan, JJ Brady, the QB for Michigan, had 360 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, but 67% completion percentage. And Michigan's run game was not as dominant as ECU, who their QB had 65 yards and a tutty. Their fullback had 2 touchdowns, 28 yards. Their halfback had 100 yards and 20 carries. I mean, they ran it 44 times between all three of them.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great showing. Um, so interesting to see. They're another one of those teams. If they can win out, they're going to need some help, but it could get interesting.
Definitely could, and we'll get into the last game of week 7. Number 15, Georgia taking on number 7, FAU, and FAU does not continue the streak of upsets, and they will get the 30-16 win.
Yeah, in a game, one of the few games that went as expected. Um, yeah, FAU taking down Georgia 30-16. Um, I wouldn't have been surprised if Georgia found a way, but yeah, Georgia just being, you know, the talent difference there showed for sure.
And I think Georgia has a good team on paper to stack up against, some of these middle of the pack teams. It's hard to say what's gone wrong this season and why they just aren't able to get the wins because I think that they had, in my opinion, one of the top recruiting classes out of any team in the league.
Oh
It
yes,
is
I
not
I agree.
it's not just not coming together in a way. And with that loss, you'd like to consider them at this point out of playoff contention, along with Mizzou and potentially Louisville at this point. Um, at this point, play spoiler. Some of these teams need to win out, and you got 2 games left to potentially shake up the playoff race.
for sure. But yeah, that was week 7. Obviously, there's no doubt in our game of the week here, with Brotherhood Blitz game of the week being Hawaii and Arkansas.
Yeah, it was not even close. The only game to go to OT.
Yeah,
Number 11 taking number 1 to OT in the fashion that they did to take it there. Uh, that's our game of the week for sure.
yep. And no hit stick play of the week this week. We didn't get any DMs, but just a reminder: if you see any big hit while you're watching the games and you would like to see it featured on the podcast, just clip it in chat, DM me or my brother the clip, and we will have it considered for hit stick play of the week.
And to kind of take into to that fact, it's hard to do the hit stick play of the week without getting people wanting to like getting involved in it in a way. Yeah, we want to post one every week, but it's also hard for us personally to go through every single game, which we do watch majority of them, beginning to end when we're not busy. But I want to be able we want to be able to shout out people and give light on some people in the league for for one being involved
Yeah,
and being active enough to send us those clips. And it's a fun thing to do. And now I will say there's gonna be a lot of changes going into the season 2 of the Brotherhood Blitz, and then as we go into season 8 of the VGL, there's a lot of things where we're going to potentially look to bring in uh, to the podcast as well, which we'll get into in a later date, and maybe ask for some recommendations, suggestions on what y'all would like to see and hear here on the Brotherhood Blitz.
yeah, definitely. And just one of those things we're looking to do is potentially have some guests on the podcast, maybe next season.
Yeah, that is something we both talked about. I know right now for for this first edition and first season of the Brotherhood Blitz, kind of wanted to see the engagement and how the reaction to the podcast, which we've gotten a ton of love and support from everyone, even league admins. Um, and we appreciate everyone for the love that we've gotten so far through this season. But my favorite parts. Let's talk about the week.
Yeah, your mic cut out there, but yes, player of the week, one of me and my brother's favorite parts of the episode.
Yeah, I just don't know why my Wi-Fi is having a little bit of issues, so apologies. Yeah, no player of the week, in which we'll get it right on started. As we'll do it the same way we did last week. We'll announce all of the people on the ballot. Won't name stats. The only stats we're gonna name is for the our personal pick for winner. For the Brotherhood Blitz players of the week. But we'll start it off with Remy Melanishin, QB of Texas, Michael Woodard, QB of Hawaii, Jimbo McMurphy, QB of LSU, Doc Holliday, wide receiver of Alabama, Dalen Sparks, wide receiver of Miami, Rolls Royce, halfback of LSU, Kyle Beasley, wide receiver of Texas, Ryan Downey, halfback of Arkansas, Jay Cobb, tight end of LSU, and Jesus Saves, halfback of Texas.
Going on to the defense, you have Dwayne Swanson, DT of Arkansas, Jared Cook, DE of Michigan, King Trident, free safety of Miami, Michael Rury, middle linebacker of Mizzou, Jace Morman, cornerback of North Carolina, Maddox Walker, strong safety of Virginia Tech, Jacob Sedera, cornerback of Rutgers, TD Champion, defensive tackle of Texas, Key West, middle linebacker of Michigan, and Tyler Jones Drew, middle linebacker of Virginia Tech. And going on to special teams, you have Corey Edwards, cornerback of Florida Atlantic, Xavier Dawson, halfback of Miami, Bullman, halfback of Louisville, Quez Richardson, wide receiver of Arkansas, and Bam Bam Rubble, cornerback of Michigan. And then congratulations to all those on the ballot. It's a huge accomplishment. But our Brotherhood Blitz Player of the Week for offense is going to go to Remy Melanishin, QB of Texas, with 38 of 44, uh, 38 passes, completions, 44 attempts for 500 yards with an average of 11.4 and 6 touchdowns through the air, and 7 attempts on the ground for 42 yards with an average of 6 per carry and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, heck of a game. Uh, Another game where this season where he had 8 total touchdowns by himself.
Yeah, it's you know if you've heard the previous excuse me, the previous episodes of the podcast, we try to stay uh, you know what's the word, uh,
Unbiased as
yeah,
possible.
unbiased. Thank you. We try to stay as unbiased as possible, but with just the games that he has been having recently, I mean, 8 touchdowns by himself is just it's one heck of a game.
8 touchdowns, almost 550 total yards of offense by himself, which I believe it was more than half of the team alone. I mean, I will give credit to some of these other players. You can make a case for Michael Woodard, had
Yep.
over 500 passing yards and almost 50 rushing yards, only 5 touchdowns. Jimbo Murphy had 441 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 40 yards on the ground. Doc Holliday, great game and a way to help secure an upset over UNC. Yeah, Rolls Royce was a nice addition, had 3 rushing touchdowns on the ground for LSU. Kyle Beasley also could have potentially got 5 receptions, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, there's just so many players that had great games this week. I don't think anyone really had the type of level of performance individually than Remy Melanishin.
Yep, I agree.
But going into our defensive player of the week, and congratulations to Dwayne Swanson, defensive tackle of Arkansas, who had 3 tackles, 2 sacks, a fumble recovery, which was returned for a touchdown. So congrats to him.
Yeah, it's anytime a defensive lineman recovers a fumble, it's great. But when he returns that recovered fumble for a touchdown, you know, you're celebrating for sure.
And you also got to think that is more, I guess, common because normally DNs are a little bit faster than the interior defensive linemen. He was a DT and outran everyone for the touchdown.
Yeah, that's wild. Do you happen to have how long that touchdown was?
I don't know, but you can name the special teams player of the week, and let me see if I can find out.
Yeah. So special teams player of the week. Congratulations to Corey Edwards, cornerback of Florida Atlantic, who had 4 kick returns for 104 yards with an average of 26. and 5 punt returns for 68 yards with an average of 13.6.
Hey,
So,
congrats.
yep. And like we said, congrats to everybody on this ballot. It's an accomplishment just to be on it.
Okay, so he also had two TFLs, Dwayne Swanson, by the way. That fumble recovery, 61 yards.
Wow. Okay, I was thinking like maybe 20 yards max, but wow, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
61. Also, has noticed Dwayne Swanson has a safety in his career. I don't know when that happened.
Interesting.
Anyways, yeah, no, 61 yards. That's yeah, he's player of the week.
Oh yeah, for sure. But with
But
that being said, we'll move on to week 8 of season 7.
and we'll get it started off with the first game on Tuesday as Maryland takes on UNC, and UNC coming off an upset loss. Maryland trying to prove themselves even more to be a top team in this league and taking on another team I consider a top team in this league, even with uh, the few upsets they have had against them this season in North Carolina. Gonna be I think a really good game.
Yeah, and it's almost as if it's a must win for UNC. UNC sitting at 4-3 currently. They really can't afford another loss, especially with how many upsets have been happening. Um, you don't want to go into week 9 sitting at 4-4.
No, especially if you're going into week 9, sit at 4-4, then you have to go on and take on Virginia Tech in rivalry week in a snow game, mind you. That Yeah, you'd much rather have a little bit of a comfortability and sitting at 5-3 instead, and then if you get a loss, you're sitting at 5-4 potentially after VT. I do agree that UNC needs to win this game to give themselves a little bit more comfortability and momentum going into that Virginia Tech game.
I 100% agree. And with that being said, I'm taking Maryland.
I'm taking UNC.
It's going to be a great game.
I mean that game's probably one of the few games this week that's already split 50-50 in my opinion down the middle.
Yeah, it's definitely another big test for Maryland.
Yeah, definitely a another big test. I think that kind of the same thing goes. UNC's got to find a way to stop that running attack.
Yeah, so it's going to be. I'll definitely be tuning into that one.
Also, same because you could potentially make a case for both these teams to kind of be in the upper echelon of teams. Maryland, got a nice win last week against VT. Can they get back to back huge wins against top teams in the league?
Yeah, moving on to the second game on Tuesday, you have Missouri taking on Texas.
I would like to see Missouri get their first win of the season. It is not happening this game.
Yeah, Mizzou, just like Colton said, I would love for y'all to get your first win, but please do not do it against us. Do it next week.
Yeah, and I love Rui. He's trying his best. The team just needs a little bit more time to mesh together. Rui maybe can potentially get a few more of those top end pieces to try and change that program around. I do think next season that it'll be a lot different of a team. Just I got to pick Texas for this game.
Yeah, I also am picking Texas, but like we said, week after week, Mizzou's young; they just need a few key pieces, and that they can definitely make some things happen.
And going into the next game, Georgia will be taking on Miami in the first game on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's just like UNC. This is a must-win game for Miami. Now, with that being said, I don't think it's as much of a 50-50 game as the Maryland UNC game is, but the pressure's on for Miami. They're coming off of two losses straight, so and now they got a new book. The question is, do they know that book? And that's either gonna, you know, it's definitely gonna show, come Wednesday night. So it's gonna be interesting to see if Georgia can stop whatever they're trying to do, or if Miami is just coming out with a new book and proving to the league, hey, we're back.
Well, it is the SMU book, and I don't think you need a lot of thought and to that book. But uh, besides that point, I do have Miami winning this.
Yeah, I also have Miami winning this, and I don't think it's gonna be close.
I don't see a place where it is close. If Miami turns the ball over a ton, potentially, but hard to say if that will happen.
Going on to second game of the Wednesday slate, FAU taking on Virginia Tech.
Ooh wee.
Another
This is my
great
this is
matchup.
my pick for this is my pick for game of the week.
It's definitely one to tune in to for sure. Um, as VT is trying to keep their top spot, and FAU trying to climb back up in the ranks. So it's definitely an interesting game as playoff seeding is coming to be a lot more important. So both teams fighting for a better playoff spot for sure.
And going into that game, uh, VT sitting at 5-2, coming off a loss to Maryland. You have FAU who's 4-3, and at this point, kind of the same boat as all the teams are 4-3. You kind of need to win this week to feel comfortable making the playoffs. At this point, you get a win, and then you're just fighting for a better seating, a better matchup in round one.
Yeah, this is definitely a must win for both of these teams, I would say. FAU, if they lose this, they go to 4-4, and then they go in a week 9 facing Miami, sitting at 4-4, which I can assure you they do not want to do. And then
No,
yeah, and then Virginia Tech, you know, if they lose,
I wouldn't say it's as much of a I wouldn't say it's as much of a must win for VT as it's must win for VT, but I can see a way where if VTU loses, that I would like to think that that week 9 game is a big game in terms of are they could be sitting at the very bottom of the seeding for playoffs, because I think they make the playoffs at this point. It's just a matter of you
yeah,
being ranked in the top 4, top 5, or you be ranking at the bottom end facing one of those top teams all over again.
yeah, and which they do not want to do. And if they lose this game, they go into the snow game with moderate wind facing UNC. So definitely, they definitely want to win this game and not worry too much about next week. Um, but obviously, they're going to want to win both and keep that top rank. So it's going to be interesting who comes out on top. Who do you have winning that one?
Well, if you look at FAU's schedule, and Their consistency, as they have not won back-to-back games, have also not lost back-to-back games all season. They have won one, lost one, won one, lost one, won one, lost one, won one. I'm gonna go with VT, and I'm gonna keep the theme alive. They're gonna lose to VT and then beat Miami week 9.
Uh, yeah, not because of that reasoning, but I do have VT topping FAU here. I
I
do
was
think
more
it's going to
being
be,
funny, but
yeah,
I
I
do
do
think
think it's going to be
VT wins.
close. I do think it's going to be a close game, but I think towards the end, VT is just going to pull away.
I do like FAU's rushing attack better. Now, if they can get the rushing game going more than previous weeks and limit limit turnovers, kind of the same way that Maryland, you win time of possession and win the turnover battle with the way your rushing attack, how lethal it can be. It's going to force VT now. VT's in the new book as well. Hard to say how this game can go, especially this late in the season.
Yeah, yeah. So uh, that was your game of the week. Uh, I'm gonna have my game of the week as Maryland, North Carolina.
And that would be my other option.
Yeah. Uh, but going on to the last game of the Wednesday slate, you have ECU taking on Hawaii, in which this is my sleeper game of the week.
Oh, I was also going to say the same thing because this has potential to be fireworks.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, you do not want to miss this game. I and you know, with me saying that, you probably know where I'm going with this, but I hope I don't regret this. I have ECU pulling off the upset here.
Rush, as much as I would like you to win this game and keep your playoff hopes alive, because it's a must win for you at this week and for ECU, I'm going to pick safe and I'm going to pick Hawaii, but I have full faith in ECU and Rush. I just think you're facing a very pissed off gun this week, and that's probably the scariest thing going into where you have to win this week.
Yeah, but you I know Rush is over there simming his ass off right now, so it's 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 going to be a great game to watch. I cannot wait for that one.
Going into the first game of the Thursday slate, it'd be Michigan taking on LSU. And really, a lot of these games and the theme of this week must win.
Yeah, both teams, like you said, must win. Um, especially fighting for playoffs is, I believe, honestly, I think only one of these teams might make playoffs. So it's going to be an interesting one. But I do think LSU is going to come out on top here.
I also agree because LSU sitting at 4-3. You win that, you probably at this point have better shot or like increase your odds of making the playoffs to pretty significantly. A loss, you potentially could be on the outside looking in or right on that bubble fighting for a 9 or 10 seed instead of like a 8 through 6. Michigan, you're sitting at 3 and 4 on the bubble. At this point, a win here, you go to 4 and 4, still fighting for probably at most 9 to 10 seed. Now, with a loss, your playoff hopes are very slim without some help in a win in week 9.
Yeah, so definitely, a must win for both teams here. But I think LSU is going to uh, win by Michigan, or yeah, win over Michigan here.
And then going into the second game of Thursday, second to last game of the week, you have Bama taking on Rutgers.
Yeah, another one of those moderate wind games, light rain. It's going to play a big factor into both of these teams' passing attack. So it's going to come down to who has the better running attack. So it's going to be an interesting matchup here, and yeah,
Well, the thing is, Bama up until this point was in an air raid book. They just switched books to a book that is able to run it, has, run it more than in the air raid they were in previously in Texas Tech. And now they're in Colorado. A whole different team we're looking at here. You're just coming off an upset over UNC, but you're also facing a team who's kind of hot, trying to make a name of themselves, getting a win over Miami. I do agree with you. It's going to come down to who can run the ball more effectively, and I think Rutgers just has a better running attack uh, at this point in time, so I'm gonna pick Rutgers.
yeah, I agree. I think Rutgers is going to be running well, um, in this weather, and but Alabama, I wouldn't count them out. They can definitely uh, you know find a way to pull this win off and keep their playoff hopes alive. But like we said multiple times, they're definitely going to need some help if they want to touch playoffs.
Yeah, even with the win, you would need a lot of teams ahead of you to basically lose out.
Yeah,
At this point, yeah, I agree. It's tough to even make it, but you potentially push some teams out with the win or even potentially winning out.
going on to the last game of Week 8, we have Louisville taking on Arkansas.
And this is a battle where Arkansas needs a win here.
Yeah, they're sitting at 3-4. Just took down number one ranked Hawaii, so they're feeling pretty good right now. You know, like you said, they definitely need the win here to go to 4-4, and then obviously they're going to need another win next week to make sure they can get a playoff spot. So it's going to be a good matchup as Louisville pretty much out of the race. Uh, I think it's pretty safe to say. But like some of these other teams, they can definitely stir the pot here and take some other teams down with them.
I'd like to think, I don't think Louisville is mathematically eliminated. I think they're kind of in the same boat as Alabama. They both need to win or they're out officially. But I think Louisville has a harder time and chance of getting in just due to some of the losses that they have had this season and not really some dominant victories like Alabama has had in the two upsets they've gotten this season.
Yeah, I agree. So with that being said, I do have Arkansas taking this one.
I also have Arkansas winning this.
But yeah, that's the games for Week 8, and then we'll have a little break, about a week break after this week, with Christmas coming up, and then we'll be right back at it for Week 9.
Yeah, no, with if anyone's seen the announcement, this episode will be coming out at 5 p.m. As it's 5 p.m. CST Sunday, which is 12:49 a.m. CST Sunday. Um, but the announcement's already been out. After week 8 concludes, we'll have about a week to 2 weeks, give or take, at least a week, where games won't be pushed back. But Gates, I applaud you for this. It's a great idea. Each team got 3 positions we're given three positions with some parameters and what their position is, their classification, whether they're freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, what sub tier they are, and have each team has three different ones. You make them out. The team kind of picks their top three best for each one and submit them to Gates, and Gates is gonna build them out and play a game between two teams with the new builder that comes out. And shout out to Vex Gates and everyone that has worked very hard on trying to get that all ready for whenever that comes out.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited for it. Definitely looking forward to it as it's the future of the VGL. So it's going to be exciting.
And it's definitely different than what people might be used to with, being, easily be able to get to 99. This is a lot more longer process, a longer tiered progression in your player. But I think it's better than just having 99 overalls all over the field, which, the game's not really made for.
Yeah, I think a lot of these players, a lot of these teams have 99 to everything, and it's almost hurting it. So it's going to be good to get a little bit more realistic, if you will.
And a lot more. Yeah, you gotta be a lot more. What's the word? I can't think the word, but you gotta be more
You got to coach better.
choosy. It's not even a word, but choosy in what you upgrade is what I was trying to get at. But I do agree with what you said. You guys, coaching is definitely going to be a big factor whenever the new builder comes out.
Yeah, game planning is going to be it's going to become a lot more important.
Well, it's definitely felt important this season with the amount of upsets there's been. Uh, but we will end it on that. We appreciate everyone for tuning in, listening over here on YouTube. We have gotten some really good feedback, and the viewership has been great over the past few weeks. Especially our previous episode came out a little late. We apologize, but that was one of our best episodes to date.
Yeah, I I've definitely been keeping an eye on it, and views keep going up. So we definitely appreciate it. Um, I don't think we both thought that the first season here with the podcast would be doing this well.
I think we both predicted as like we'd be happy with 20 views an episode, and I think we're averaging well over that.
Yeah, I think we're averaging about double that. So
But like I said, we appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we will see y'all in the next episode. And thank you for listening to the Brotherhood Blitz.